I'm 5 feet 6 inches and weigh 130 pounds. In high school, that made me the kid who got picked last for basketball. In Vietnam, it made me a tunnel rat. Most dangerous job in the war, they say. I don't know if that's true. Lots of jobs got you killed in Vietnam, but I know this. Every time I went down into those tunnels, I didn't expect to come back up. Every single time felt like volunteering for my own burial. Name's Daniel Kowalski, Specialist 4th Class, 25th Infantry Division, C Company, 1st Battalion, 27th Infantry. I spent 13 months in Vietnam, most of it around Cu Chi, northwest of Saigon. And I spent a significant portion of those 13 months underground, crawling through tunnels the Viet Cong had dug, trying not to die in the dark. I'm from Pittsburgh, Polish family, working class. My dad worked in the steel mills. I was supposed to follow him there, but I got drafted in 1967. 19 years old, skinny kid who'd never been outside Pennsylvania. Suddenly I'm in Vietnam. Basic training at Fort Polk, infantry training. Then I shipped out in February 1968. Arrived in country during Tet, when everything was chaos. They assigned me to the 25th Infantry Division at Cu Chi Base Camp. Big fire base, supposedly secure, but the VC had tunnels running right underneath it, right underneath our bunks. That's how extensive the tunnel system was. I didn't volunteer to be a tunnel rat. Nobody volunteers for that. They picked me because I was small. That's it. That's the whole selection process. You're under 5 feet 7 inches and thin enough to fit through a 2-foot wide hole. Congratulations, you're a tunnel rat. Lieutenant Jackson called me into his tent my second week in country. Kowalski, you're small, right? Yes, sir. Ever been spelunking? Cave exploring? No, sir. Claustrophobic? I don't think so, sir. Good. We found a tunnel entrance on the perimeter. Need someone to check it out. That's how it started. No training, no preparation. Just here's a pistol and a flashlight. Go underground and see what's down there. The first tunnel I went into was maybe 3 feet high, 2 feet wide. Had to crawl on my belly, pushing myself forward with my elbows and knees. The walls were dirt, held up by wooden supports that looked ancient and unstable. The air was thick, humid, hard to breathe. Smelled like earth and decay and something else, fear maybe, or death. I made it maybe 20 feet before I found the first booby trap. Trip wires stretched across the tunnel, connected to a grenade mounted in the wall. I froze, just completely froze. In the dark, with my flashlight showing me the wire that would kill me if I touched it. Took me 10 minutes to figure out how to disarm it. 10 minutes of lying in that tunnel, sweating, heart pounding, knowing that one wrong move and I'd be buried alive under tons of earth. When I finally got it disarmed and crawled back out, I was shaking so bad I couldn't stand. Sergeant Miller had to help me up. Find anything? He asked. Booby trap, grenade. Did you disarm it? Yes, Sergeant. Good. Rest up. We've got 3 more tunnels to check tomorrow. That's when I realized this was my job now. This is what I'd be doing. Going underground, into the dark, alone, to find and fight an enemy who knew every inch of those tunnels and had filled them with traps and death. I was 19 years old, and I was terrified. The Cu Chi tunnel system was massive. Over 120 miles of tunnels, they estimated, multiple levels, some going down 30 feet. Complete underground cities with hospitals, sleeping quarters, kitchens, ammunition storage. The VC could disappear underground and you'd never find them unless you went down there yourself. That's where we came in, tunnel rats. Small soldiers with pistols and flashlights crawling into enemy-held tunnels to clear them, map them, destroy them. Sometimes we'd find documents or weapons. Sometimes we'd find Viet Cong. Sometimes we'd find nothing but traps and darkness and the certainty we were going to die down there. I learned the job by doing it. Learned to spot trip wires in the dark. Learned to listen for breathing, for movement, for the click of a trap being triggered. Learn to fight in spaces so tight you couldn't turn around, couldn't lift your arms, could barely move at all. Learn to use a pistol underground, usually a .45 or a .38 revolver, nothing bigger because you needed something you could aim in a 2-foot space. Learn that gunfire in a tunnel was deafening, that the muzzle flash would blind you, that the smoke would choke you. Learn to fire and immediately move because the enemy would shoot at your muzzle flash. Learn to navigate by feel. Sometimes the flashlight would die, or you'd have to turn it off to avoid being a target. Then it was just you in absolute darkness, crawling forward by touch, hoping you weren't crawling toward a pungy stake or a venomous snake or an armed enemy. The VC were brilliant tunnel fighters. They knew every inch of the system, could move silently in complete darkness, would set up ambushes, then disappear through hidden passages we didn't know existed. They'd booby-trap everything, false entrances, dead ends, even the air shafts. And they'd wait. That was the worst part. They'd wait in the dark, silent, patient, while you crawled toward them. You'd be moving through a tunnel, checking for traps, trying to stay quiet, and suddenly someone would be there, right there, 2 feet away, and then it was pistols and knives and fighting in a space where you couldn't even stand up. My first firefight underground happened in March 1968. I was checking a tunnel system we'd found under a village. About 40 feet in, the tunnel opened into a small chamber, maybe 6 feet across, 4 feet high. Enough room to crouch, but not stand. I swept the chamber with my flashlight, empty, or so I thought. I was turning to check a side passage when I heard breathing, not mine, someone else's, behind me. I spun, brought up my .45, and there he was, VC soldier, maybe my age, maybe younger. He had an AK-47, but there wasn't room to bring it up. We were 3 feet apart in a space too small to fight properly. We both fired at the same time. His shot went wide, hit the wall behind me. Mine hit him in the chest. The muzzle flash blinded me. The report was deafening in the enclosed space. The smoke choked me. I couldn't see, couldn't hear, couldn't breathe. Just sat there in the dark, gasping, with a dead enemy soldier 3 feet away. When my vision came back, when the ringing in my ears faded enough to hear, I checked the body. He was maybe 18, had letters in his pocket, photos of family. Human being with a life and people who loved him. And I'd killed him in a hole in the ground where nobody would ever find him unless we told them. I dragged his body back to the entrance. Procedure. We documented every enemy KIA, every weapon captured. The body went on the count. The AK went to intelligence. Another success for the tunnel rats. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept seeing his face in the flashlight beam. Kept hearing the shot. Kept wondering if he had time to be scared, or if it happened too fast. Sergeant Miller found me sitting outside my bunker at 0300 hours. First one's always hard, he said. Does it get easier? No. You just get better at not thinking about it. He sat down beside me. How many tunnels you cleared now? Maybe 20. You've probably saved a lot of lives. Diffused traps that would have killed other soldiers. Found weapon caches. Disrupted enemy operations. That matters. He was just a kid, Sergeant. So are you, Kowalski. So are all of us. He stood up. Get some sleep. We've got more tunnels tomorrow. We always had more tunnels. They were endless. We'd clear a section, collapse it, move on. And the VC would just dig new ones, or repair the old ones, or find ways around our destruction. It was Sisyphean, endless, impossible, futile. But we kept doing it because those tunnels were being used to kill Americans, and somebody had to stop them. The deeper you went into the tunnel systems, the worse it got. The main tunnels were bad enough, tight, dark, trapped. But the deep tunnels The ones 30 feet down, those were hell. The air was different down there, thinner, harder to breathe. Sometimes there wasn't enough oxygen, and you'd start feeling lightheaded, dizzy. Had to know when to turn back before you passed out and died of asphyxiation. The heat was oppressive. 90 degrees outside meant 100+ underground. You'd crawl through those tunnels and sweat would pour off you, soak your uniform, make your hands slip on the pistol grip. Dehydration was constant. We'd carry canteens, but they'd be empty after an hour underground. And the creatures. Nobody talks about the creatures. Snakes, bamboo vipers, kraits, cobras. They'd find their way into the tunnels, curl up in the dark corners. You'd be crawling along, and suddenly your hand would land on something that moved, something that hissed. More than one tunnel rat died from snake bites underground. Spiders, rats, real rats, not us. Centipedes the size of your hand, scorpions. All of them venomous, all of them defensive, all of them more comfortable in the dark than we were. But the worst thing wasn't the creatures. It was the spaces. Some parts of the tunnel system were so tight you had to exhale to fit through. Had to push yourself forward on your belly, arms stretched out in front, barely able to move. And if you got stuck, if the tunnel narrowed, or your gear caught on something, or you just couldn't move forward, you were trapped. No room to turn around, no room to back up. Just stuck in the dark, in a hole in the ground, slowly suffocating. That happened to Private First Class Jenkins in April 1968. He went into a tunnel, got about 60 feet in, and got stuck. Couldn't move forward, couldn't back up. He called for help, but there was nothing we could do. The tunnel was too narrow for anyone else to get to him. We tried. We really tried. Spent 6 hours trying to dig down to him from above, trying to widen the tunnel entrance so we could pull him back. But the tunnel kept collapsing. The more we dug, the worse it got. Jenkins died down there, probably from panic, from hyperventilating in the limited air, probably from the sheer terror of being trapped underground with no way out. We eventually recovered his body, but it took 3 days of careful excavation. After that, I was scared every time I went down. Scared of getting stuck. Scared of the tunnel collapsing. Scared of dying alone in the dark where nobody could reach me. But I kept going. We all did. Because the mission required it. Because our unit needed us. Because saying no meant someone else had to do it. And they might be even less prepared than we were. The VC started getting smarter about their defenses. They'd create false tunnels that led to dead ends filled with traps. They'd dig side passages with hidden entrances, then ambush you from behind after you'd passed. They'd flood tunnels or fill them with smoke or plant explosives on timers. I lost count of how many booby traps I disarmed. Grenades, crossbow traps, punji stakes, scorpions in baskets rigged to fall on you. The VC were endlessly creative in their methods of killing tunnel rats. Corporal Martinez, not related to the Martinez from Hugh, different guy, he triggered a trap in May 1968. Crossbow bolt straight through the chest. He was maybe 10 feet ahead of me when it happened. I heard the snap of the mechanism, heard him gasp, heard him fall. I crawled up to him, tried to help, but he was already gone. The bolt had gone through his heart, killed him instantly. I had to leave him there. Couldn't drag a body backward through a narrow tunnel. Had to mark the location, crawl back out, get help. By the time we recovered him, he'd been underground for 4 hours. His death broke something in me. Or maybe it was just the accumulation. Jenkins, Martinez, all the close calls, all the traps, all the fear. But after Martinez died, I started having panic attacks before going into tunnels. I'd stand at the entrance, look at that dark hole in the ground, and my body would refuse to move. My heart would race, my breathing would get shallow, my hands would shake. I'd force myself to go in, couldn't refuse, couldn't fail my mission, but every time was harder. Lieutenant Jackson noticed. "You okay, Kowalski? You seem off." "I'm fine, sir." "You sure?" Because if you need a break,
I'm fine, sir. I can do my job.
I wasn't fine, but there weren't enough tunnel rats. Couldn't spare anyone. So I kept going down, kept fighting my fear, kept crawling through those tunnels even though every instinct screamed at me to run. By June 1968, I'd been underground maybe 100 times, cleared dozens of tunnel complexes, found weapons, documents, food supplies, killed 6 enemy soldiers in underground firefights, disarmed more booby traps than I could count. I was good at the job, experienced, competent, and I was dying inside. The fear, the claustrophobia, the constant expectation of death, it was eating away at me. I wasn't sleeping well, wasn't eating much, lost weight I couldn't afford to lose, started having nightmares about being buried alive, about tunnels collapsing, about dying in the dark. The other tunnel rats were the same. We had maybe 8 guys in the company who were small enough to do the job, and all of us were damaged. Some hid it better than others, but we all had the same look in our eyes, hollow, haunted, constantly anticipating the next time we'd have to go down. We'd drink together sometimes, sit around after missions, and drink ourselves into oblivion. Nobody talked about what we'd seen, what we'd done, what we were feeling. We just drank and tried to forget. One of the guys, Specialist Moore, he started taking unnecessary risks, would go into tunnels without proper equipment, without backup, without following procedure, like he was daring the tunnels to kill him, like he wanted it to be over. He died in July, went into a tunnel alone, against orders, and never came out. We found his body 3 days later in a collapsed section. Looked like he'd been trying to defuse a booby trap and it went off, brought down the tunnel on top of him, buried him alive. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe he made a mistake. Or maybe he just couldn't take it anymore and found a way to make it stop. I understood. I was getting close to that edge myself, close to not caring anymore, close to welcoming whatever happened in the dark because at least it would be over. The tunnels under Cu Chi seemed infinite. We'd clear sections, collapse them, move on. But intelligence kept finding new entrances, new systems, new complexes that needed exploring. The VC had been digging these tunnels for years, since the French colonial period even. 20 years of excavation had created a labyrinth we could never fully map or destroy. And we were supposed to clear it. 8 tunnel rats and a dream. It was absurd, impossible. But we kept trying because that was the mission. In August, we found a major complex. Hospital, sleeping quarters, conference rooms, all underground. Big enough to house a company of VC. We spent 3 days clearing it, room by room, level by level. Every chamber could have had enemy fighters. Every passage could have been trapped. We went through it methodically, carefully, expecting death at every turn. We found documents, maps, intelligence about VC operations, high-value stuff that went straight to division headquarters. They were pleased, told us we'd done excellent work, gave us commendations, felt hollow. Martinez and Moore were dead. Jenkins was dead. Half the original tunnel rats were gone. But we'd found some documents, so it was a success. That's when I stopped believing in the mission, stopped believing any of it mattered. We'd clear tunnels and the VC would dig new ones. We'd find weapon caches and they'd bring in more weapons. We'd kill enemy soldiers and more would take their place. It was endless, futile, a waste of lives and sanity for no strategic gain. But I kept doing it, kept going down. Because what else could I do? Refuse and face court-martial? Let someone else die in my place? Just stop and let the fear win? So I went down. Every time they found a new tunnel, every time they needed someone small enough to fit, every time expecting it to be the last, every time somehow surviving. September 1968. We were operating near the Cambodian border. Found a tunnel entrance in a bomb crater. Deep one, they said. Probably connects to a major system. Need someone to check it out. I was the only tunnel rat available. The others were on other operations, or injured, or dead. Just me. I stood at that entrance for 10 minutes, just staring at the dark hole in the ground. Couldn't make myself move. My body wouldn't obey. The panic was overwhelming. Heart racing, can't breathe, vision narrowing. Kowalski, Lieutenant Jackson's voice. You okay? Yes, sir. Lie. I was the opposite of okay. You don't have to do this if you can't. No, sir. I can do it. Another lie. I went in. Because that's what you do. You push through the fear, ignore the panic. Do your job even when your body is screaming at you to run. The tunnel was tight, tighter than usual. I had to really squeeze to fit. Bad sign. Meant it would be hard to move, hard to maneuver, hard to fight if I encountered anyone. About 30 feet in, I found the first trap. Grenade on a tripwire. Standard. I disarmed it, kept moving. 50 feet in, the tunnel branched, left or right. No way to know which was correct. I chose left. Arbitrary decision. Could have gone right. Could have made a different choice. The left tunnel got tighter. I was crawling on my belly, arms stretched out, pushing myself forward with my toes. Barely enough room to breathe. The walls were pressing in on me. That's when I heard it. Movement ahead, breathing. Someone was in the tunnel with me. I froze. Couldn't see anything. I'd turned off my flashlight to avoid being a target. Just heard breathing in the darkness. Maybe 15 feet ahead, maybe closer. Hard to tell in the confined space. I slowly, quietly drew my pistol. Tried to control my breathing. Tried to stay silent. But my heart was pounding so loud I was sure they could hear it. Then a voice, Vietnamese, saying something I couldn't understand. Close, very close. I turned on my flashlight. The beam showed a VC soldier, maybe 10 feet ahead facing me. He had a pistol, too. We both fired at the same time. I don't know who missed first. Maybe both shots went wide in the panic. But suddenly we were both scrambling. Him backward, me forward. Both trying to get another shot. Both trying to survive. The tunnel was too tight. I couldn't aim properly. Couldn't brace. Couldn't do anything except push forward and fire blindly. I hit him, don't know where. But he fell, and I crawled over him, and I kept firing until my pistol was empty and he wasn't moving anymore. Then I just lay there, on top of a dead enemy soldier, in a tunnel so tight I could barely move, in complete darkness, because my flashlight had fallen somewhere, hyperventilating and crying and completely losing it. I don't know how long I was there. Could have been minutes. Could have been hours. Eventually, I found my flashlight, reloaded my pistol, dragged myself backward over the body and out of the tunnel. When I emerged, it was getting dark. I'd been underground for 6 hours. The squad was preparing to mount a rescue operation because they'd heard shooting and I hadn't come out. Lieutenant Jackson took one look at me, covered in blood, shaking, eyes wild, and made a decision. You're done. No more tunnels. I'm pulling you from the rotation. Sir, I can... No, you can't. Look at yourself. You're done. His voice was firm but not unkind. You did your job. You did more than anyone should have to. But you're done now. I wanted to argue. Wanted to protest that I was fine, that I could keep going, but I couldn't. The words wouldn't come. Because he was right. I was done, broken, used up, nothing left. They reassigned me to regular infantry duty. Above ground, normal patrols, normal combat. It felt like a vacation compared to the tunnels. But I was different, changed. The person who'd gone into those tunnels hadn't come back out. What emerged was something else, something hollow and damaged and haunted. I finished my tour in Vietnam in March 1969, 13 months total. About 8 months as a tunnel rat before I broke. Came home with a Purple Heart, caught some shrapnel on a patrol, minor wound, and a Bronze Star for the tunnel work. Medals that felt meaningless. Nobody at home understood what I'd done. How could they? I crawled through tunnels doesn't convey the reality, doesn't capture the claustrophobia, the terror, the certainty of death, the killing at point-blank range in spaces too small to stand up. My parents threw a welcome home party. Everyone wanted to hear about Vietnam. Asked questions, expected stories. I gave them sanitized versions. Talked about the heat, the jungle, the camaraderie. Didn't mention the tunnels, didn't mention the dark, didn't mention crawling over dead bodies in spaces where you couldn't turn around. They wouldn't have understood anyway. I can't do enclosed spaces anymore. Can't go into basements, caves, small rooms. Even elevators make me panic. The walls close in, and suddenly I'm back in the tunnels, back in the dark, back in that space where I can't move and can't breathe, and death is waiting around the next corner. Nightmares. Constant nightmares. I'm underground, trapped, stuck in a tunnel that's collapsing. Or I'm being chased through the tunnels by enemies I can't see. Or I'm finding bodies, Jenkins, Martinez, Moore, and they're asking me why I didn't save them. I wake up screaming sometimes, wake up clawing at the walls, trying to dig my way out of tunnels that aren't there. My wife, we got married in 1970. She's learned to recognize the signs, learned to talk me down, remind me I'm home, safe, above ground. But I'm not safe. Not really. The tunnels are still there, in my head, always there. I tried therapy at the VA. The psychiatrist asked me to talk about my experiences, to describe what it was like. I tried, got maybe 5 minutes into it before I had a panic attack. Couldn't breathe, couldn't finish. Haven't been back since. Work is hard. I've had a dozen jobs since coming home. Can't keep any of them long. The enclosed spaces, the fluorescent lights that feel like flashlight beams, the sense of being trapped, it all triggers me. I walk off jobs, get fired, start over somewhere else. My wife is patient, more patient than I deserve, but I can see the strain, can see her wondering how long she can live with a husband who wakes up screaming, who can't hold a job, who has panic attacks in grocery stores when the aisles feel too narrow. I'm 27 years old. It's been 7 years since I left Vietnam. 7 years, and I still can't escape those tunnels. Can't stop feeling the walls closing in. Can't stop expecting death in the dark. The war is over now. America pulled out. Saigon fell. All of it was for nothing. The tunnels we cleared, the enemies we killed, the terror we endured, none of it mattered in the end. We lost. Vietnam is communist. Everything we fought for, everything we sacrificed was wasted. That might be the worst part, knowing it was all futile, that Jenkins and Martinez and Moore died for nothing, that I destroyed myself for nothing, that those 8 months underground, those 100 descents into hell didn't change anything. The Cu Chi tunnels are still there. Some of them have been turned into tourist attractions. People pay to crawl through them, see what they were like, see the clever engineering, the ingenuity, the determination of the Vietnamese fighters who built them. I'll never go back. Never see those tunnels again. Don't need to. They're with me, always. Every time I close my eyes. Every time I'm in an enclosed space. Every time I smell damp earth or feel confined walls. I was a tunnel rat. I crawled through hell so other soldiers didn't have to. I fought enemies in the dark, disarmed traps, mapped underground complexes. I did my job. I did it well. I survived when others didn't. But survival isn't victory. Survival is just continuing to carry the weight, the fear, the trauma, continuing to live with what you saw and did and became in those tunnels. They say the tunnel rats were the bravest soldiers in Vietnam, that what we did took incredible courage. Maybe that's true. Or maybe we were just small enough to fit through the holes, and someone decided that was good enough reason to send us into the dark. I don't feel brave. I feel broken. I feel like I left something essential in those tunnels. Maybe my sanity, maybe my humanity, maybe just the part of me that could live a normal life. What came back from Vietnam is a shell. Something that looks like Daniel Kowalski but isn't. Not really. The real Daniel Kowalski is still down there, in the dark, crawling through tunnels that never end, dying over and over in 1,000 different ways. That's what being a tunnel rat means. Going underground where you can't stand up, can't turn around, can't escape. Facing death in the dark. And if you survive, carrying those tunnels with you forever. In your dreams, in your fears, in every enclosed space that makes your heart race and your breath catch and your mind scream that you're trapped, you're buried, you're dying. 7 years later, and I'm still crawling, still trying to find a way out, still looking for light at the end of the tunnel, but there is no end. The tunnels go on forever, and I'm still in them, still trapped, still dying in the dark. That's what nobody tells you about being a tunnel rat. It's not just a job you did in Vietnam. It's something you become, something you carry, something that burrows into you the way those tunnels burrowed into the earth, and you never get out, never fully. You just learn to live in the dark, or you don't learn. And you end up like Moore, finding your own way to make it stop. I'm still trying to learn, still trying to live, still trying to be a person, a husband, something more than just a broken veteran carrying tunnels in his head. Some days I succeed, some days I don't, but I keep trying because that's what survival means. Continuing, crawling forward, looking for light, even when you're sure there isn't any, even when you know you'll never really escape, even when you understand that the tunnel never ends, that the dark is permanent, that this is what your life is now. You keep crawling, because stopping means giving up. And I didn't survive Ku Chai just to give up now. So I crawl every day, through the dark, through the fear, through the weight of what I did and what I became. Still crawling, still trapped, still a tunnel rat, even though the war is over and the tunnels are thousands of miles away. Still underground, still in the dark, still trying to find a way out that doesn't exist. That's what it means to be a tunnel rat. And that's what I'll be for the rest of my life.